Here on Symone, we're unpacking some of the key races of 2024 in a series we're calling On the Ballot. And today we're going to Florida, where former Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell is running to replace Republican Senator Rick Scott. In last year's midterms, Florida was the only state where that promise of that red wave, well, it wasn't off the mark. Republican candidates won every single statewide election in the 2022 midterms. The sweep even led some to ask whether Florida can still be considered a swing state. Well, I think it can with a little investment. Former Congresswoman and current Senate candidate Debbie Mucarsel-Powell has a few thoughts on this as well. Welcome to you, Congresswoman. Okay, can you just first tell us, what do you think has changed among voters between last year's Republican blowout and the upcoming 2024 election?
Good afternoon, Symone. Thank you so much for having me. Look, let me just start by saying Florida is not a red state. This is a voter-suppressed and gerrymandered state, and that's why you saw that anomaly in 2022. But let me tell you just a little bit about why I know that it's going to be different in 2024. Look, I'm a Latina. Rick Scott has never faced a Latina running against him in this election, and I know exactly how to communicate with my community. He's never run in a presidential year. We know that our voters turn out in presidential elections. But one thing that I think it's important for the viewers to know is that we are going to have abortion rights on the ballot. We're going to have a ballot initiative that will protect a woman's right to choose. And that's something that's really motivating women and men across all political affiliations. If you remember, Governor DeSantis signed the most extreme abortion ban, a 6-week abortion ban, and most Floridians, over 75% of Floridians, are against this ban. And Rick Scott proudly came out to support the most extreme ban on abortion. So I feel very confident that this is a new year, and I need everyone who's watching to go to my website, support this campaign, debbieforflorida.com. We are going to beat Rick Scott in 2024.
So, Congresswoman, I am very interested about your answer on abortion because, you know, some of the national pundits and politicos would say this is not a motivating issue in Florida. You say, though, that is the opposite of what you're seeing, and you believe this ballot initiative will help bolster you at the ballot box.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone that I've been talking to all over the state, whether I'm in southern Florida, here in Miami, Orlando, or northern Florida, this is an issue that's motivating mothers like myself. I have 2 daughters, Symone. I refuse to allow them to grow up in a country with fewer rights than I had coming here from our home country of Ecuador. My mother brought me here to give us opportunities that we wouldn't have in South America. And because of those opportunities, I was the first South American to ever be elected to serve in Congress. And those opportunities are disappearing, especially for women here in our state. This is a civil rights issue. This is about freedom. This is about protecting a woman's privacy to make her own reproductive healthcare choices between herself, her family, and her faith. And I assure you that most Floridians have rejected this ballot initiative. I have friends here who are Republicans who will absolutely vote to protect a woman's right to choose.
I want to get you to weigh in on your state's education policy because it has absolutely been the subject of national news. There is a study from the American Association of University Professors, and it found that nearly half of Florida professors say they plan to seek employment in another state before this year is out. Now, 85% of the folks said that they would not recommend a colleague begin teaching in Florida. How would you use a Senate seat to begin repairing this damage? Because these numbers are staggering.
Well, Symone, before I went to Congress, I worked at FIU here, Florida International University in Miami, for many, many years. And I have deep relationships with faculty members, students across the spectrum. And this is an issue that's extremely concerning because they're receiving funding cuts so that universities don't teach gender studies, diversity and equity studies. And it really is creating a brain dump in our state and a brain drain for a lot of those faculty members that are trying to leave the state. But if they elect someone like myself who understands the needs of education, we need to invest in our students. We need to invest in an education system that's going to prepare our students for the challenges that we face ahead, including climate change, including a global economy and a destabilizing balance of power as we see the war in Russia against Ukraine. I mean, there are a lot of issues that we need to focus on. What's happening here is that the most extreme Republicans, including Rick Scott, are siding with private companies that are trying to use this education culture war for self-enrichment. I mean, if you dig deep, there's a movement there that's trying to control education so that they can make money off of it. And we need to go to a place where we have balance, when we protect freedom of speech, when we stop censoring and banning books, and we invest in our students.
Former Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, Senate candidate in Florida, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Symone.